What's up, guys? Back at you with another IC recap. And this week, we had Pastor Brandon preaching again about the presence of God. And he referenced, instead of Revelation 4, he went back a chapter to Revelation 3. And in Revelation 3:20, Jesus says, "Look, I stand at the door and knock. If you hear my voice and open the door, I will come in and we will share a meal together as friends." So that was one of the main verses he talked about throughout the message. And basically he was saying, God's at the door knocking. We talked about it last week too. Like, God's knocking. He's like, hello. Hello. He's here. He's knocking. But it's so interesting because in the verses he's standing and knocking, right? So not only is he knocking, trying to get into our house, which is our heart, right? Which is our mind, which is our life. He's staying there too. He's not knocking and then dipping, right? He's not knocking and then you open the door. He's like, nah, never mind. No, he's knocking and he's standing. He's saying, hey, I'm here, right? But I think it's so interesting because it's like, okay, yeah, he's knocking. He's trying to get into the door. But what is this door, right? He's knocking and waiting to get into every part of your life. He's not only trying to get into your life when you're at church or when you're at work or when you're at school. He wants to be a part of every single thing in your life. So he stands and he knocks and he wants to be let in, and we have to let him in. He's not going to barge in himself. We have to make it a priority to let him in. In every moment that God waits outside the door and we don't let him in, and we knock when we're going somewhere, he knocks, he's like, hey, like, I'm here, I'm knocking, and we're like, nah, sorry bro, not today. It's a missed opportunity and it's missed out potential on what God can do in your life. And it's so beautiful when we let him into our life. But a lot of times, like I said, we pick and choose what doors we want to let him into, which shouldn't be the case. We should let him into all parts of our life. If we trust him in this part of our life, why don't we trust him in this part of our life? So this next part is interesting because Pastor Brandon talks about why we don't let God into our life. And again, it's because we have these walls up. But we have these walls up and we can't suppress his presence, but we can suppress our awareness to it, right? He's gonna knock and knock and knock, and we can try to ignore the knocking, right? We can suppress ourself to the knocking, but nothing we can do can suppress his presence. So then it comes to, okay, so am I going to try and suppress my own awareness to God? Or am I going to release, instead of trying to hold back, I'm just like, you know what, God, come on in, dude. Doors wide open. Come on in, bro. I got a seat for you. We can eat. We can chill. Right? Am I going to try and suppress and say, you know what, God, not today. Right? I'm not feeling it today. But am I going to put my feelings aside and how I feel? Because you know, I might think my feelings are greater than God. Who am I to say that, right? No, God, you come in with anything that's going on. You come in. I want you to be a part of every single part of my life. And so then he kind of goes into like, okay, practically, how do we suppress our awareness to God? And it's that we don't make time for him. We don't make him a priority. Not spending time with God makes us less aware of his presence. And people might have the excuse, well, I don't have the time in the day to spend time with God. It's like, I'm busy. I'm a busy guy, you know? I go to school, I have a job, I go to the gym, I gotta go get groceries, I gotta get my vegetables, you know? Everyone has the same amount of time in the day. But what are you prioritizing? You have time to do everything else, but not spend time with God. So you really have the time. It's just lower on your priorities. And then this part kind of parlays. That's the word I'm trying to think of. It parlays with my last point. And it's having a false identity of God. Having a false image of God. And what it comes down to is like just not knowing who he really is. To know who he is, we have to spend time with him. Right? How are you supposed to get to know someone? Or how do you expect to know someone if you don't spend time with them? Then once you get to know him, you'll make him a top priority because you want him to be in every other part of your life. Every other priority you may have that is below him. He needs to be the top so that he can be in everything else below him. You go from, instead of wanting the power of God, instead of wanting the fruit of God, like what he does for me, you get to the point where you just want him. Then instead of wanting the power of God, just the result and the fruit of God, you want him. You want his presence. You just want to be in his presence. Because yeah, don't get me wrong, it's great. Everything that God gives me is great. But what type of relationship is it if I just want what he gives me? If I'm just like, you know what, God, thank you for some patience, thank you for some joy. Oh, I'll take that, like, worry free. Oh, you saved me, by the way, thank you. And then just dip. No. He cares for you. He wants to be in relationship with you. So what type of person is that sure that we are? He wants to be in relationship with you. This is what he means when you're in the presence, when you do let him in. Like, your posture changes. Instead of wanting these other things, you're like, God, I'm just thankful you're here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for knocking. Thank you for coming in when I let you in. Thank you for coming in when I open the door. Thank you. And you're just like happy to be in his presence and to get to know him. When you let God in fully, right? When he is, you know, God, I'm worrying about this. I have anxiety over this. I'm having trouble with this addiction, but I'm going to let you in. He is greater than all of those things. And so all of those worries, all that anxiety, all that pressure goes away because you realize that God loves you and he cares for you. He has the power to overcome those things. And he gives us the power to overcome those things. And it's so awesome. It's so beautiful. Brandon closes off talking about what you look like after. You look different. Your life looks completely different. When you let him into every single part of your life, it's not going to look the same. It's going to change for the better, though. Not only for you, but for the kingdom, but for him, for his glory. Everything is just going to be better. And a result of you letting God into your life, opening those doors. That God, here's the key. You can have a whole ring full of keys. You know, the rings that has like all the janitors have the keys. It's like there's like no even space on the ring. It's just full of keys. Sometimes we may have that many doors, but God knocks on every single one of them. So the question is, are you gonna let him in? That's the question. That's what it comes down to. Are you gonna let God in? Are you gonna give him the keys? It's not even giving him the keys. You have the keys. You know what doors you need to open. But are you going to open it for him and let him in? This week we have revival night, so make sure to be in the house. We're going to praise. We're going to worship. There's going to be a message, I think. So I don't know if I'm going to do a recap, but thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.